Child's play is a phrase we often hear being used to describe something that's simple or easy to accomplish. However, play has a much greater role in childhood development than many realize. The way a child plays influences how they'll approach problems and interact with others for the rest of their lives. Therefore, it's important that children feel comfortable playing in a way that works for them. However, this ends up being quite difficult for some children because of gender-specific toys. According to an October 2021 article from The Guardian, toys that are marketed specifically for boys or for girls often provide different cognitive benefits, and only exposing a child to one of these categories can significantly limit the developmental process while enforcing harmful gender stereotypes. Today, we'll examine this issue being faced by millions of children by first considering how gender-specific toys became the norm in America, before then looking at what this means for both kids and adults, before finally considering better play alternatives for the sake of children everywhere. Before we can adequately address the issue of gender-specific toys, we need to consider how they became so popular in our society. A March 2021 article from the Washington Post describes how the gendered advertisement of toys found its roots in America in the 1800s. Marketers at this point were just beginning to take advantage of the youth as an audience for their products, and some of them began to realize that there was an even more efficient target: older boys. These companies shifted their focus from the entire youth audience to just the portion composed of older boys. Due to being exposed to the workforce, these boys were more financially independent than their younger counterparts. Also, they had already started to experience some consumer temptations. This made it less likely that these companies would come under scorn from parents for targeting the children with their products. Gender-specific toys continued to be relevant throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. A December 2020 article from The Conversation magazine describes how toy manufacturers in the first half of the 20th century began to realize that wealthy parents were willing to spend lots of money on extravagant sets of toys that catered to their kids' gender. Thus, ostentatious sets of dollhouses and toy trains were born. The gender divide in toys has only gotten more severe in recent decades. An article from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, last accessed October 25, 2022, describes how in an experiment conducted at Purdue University, researchers classified 100 toys as being associated with boys, girls, or neither. When the researchers compared the toys they'd placed into these three categories, it was very clear that the boys' toys placed a heavy emphasis on fighting and aggression, while the girls' toys focused on one's appearance. Furthermore, the researchers ranked the toys by how beneficial they considered them to be for optimal childhood development in physical, cognitive, and creative aspects. The toys at the top of this list were either gender neutral or moderately masculine. The results of this study, plus what we learned about how gender-specific toys became popular in the 1800s, led us to one conclusion. The profit incentive led firms to adapt gendered marketing tactics that have led to gender-specific toys flooding the market at the expense of kids everywhere. Now, on the surface, the production and marketing of gender-specific toys may not seem like something to be very concerned about, especially today when modern parents are so willing to take advantage of the vast toy market and let their kids play with whatever they want. However, this is exactly why we must next examine how the persistence of gender-specific toys can have serious implications on child development. The way a child plays influences how they'll approach their surroundings for the rest of their lives. As explained in an October 2022 article from parentingforbrain.com, play is how children learn and familiarize themselves with the world around them. Play teaches children how to use different parts of their brain to succeed in a variety of tasks. Furthermore, as explained in an April 2022 article from raisingchildren.net, play is vastly important for teaching kids how to have self-confidence and interact with others. This type of learning is evident when a group of kids are successful in putting together a puzzle. Such tasks require effective teamwork, and the kids feel proud of themselves when they succeed. However, these key benefits of playing are more likely to be limited by gender-specific toys. The previously described research from Purdue University points out that restricting children to toys that are supposed to cater to their gender actually limits the developmental process. And this isn't the only developmental aspect in which gender-specific toys can negatively impact children. They can also have an effect in areas such as their gender identity. Frequent exposure to gender-specific toys can make children feel pressured to express themselves in a way that's most preferable to society, rather than doing what's actually best for themselves. Also, a December 2020 article from the journal The Archaeology of Sexual Behavior adds that most kids actually don't display a gender preference for the toys they enjoy, at least until they've been exposed to society's ideas about gender. When a child is exposed to societal gender roles and then encouraged to play with toys that further these narratives, it's common sense that this would cause turmoil for these children because they get the message that we expect them to act according to these restrictive gender stereotypes. And this phenomenon might actually be worse for boys than it is for girls. A March 2022 article from the National News describes how in a survey of 7,000 parents from 7 different countries, 54% of them said they were concerned that their son would be made fun of for playing with toys that were traditionally marketed for girls. On the other hand, only 24% of them expressed concern that their daughter would be bullied for having traditionally male interests. Since these gender stereotypes follow us into adulthood, it is clear that gender-specific toys not only pose a threat to optimal child development, but also to adults as they struggle to conform to the deep-seated gender norms of our society. We've examined how gender-specific toys became the norm and looked at what this means for both kids and adults. So now it's time to ask ourselves the critical question of what we can do about it. The most obvious solution here is to buy gender-neutral toys for the children in your life, and this makes great sense when you look at it from a developmental perspective. According to a November 2021 article from the Brookings Institute, this begins by shopping in the gender-neutral toy aisle. The article goes on to explain that legislation recently passed in the state of California requires large stores that sell toys to market a specific proportion of them in a separate gender-neutral fashion. Additionally, the aforementioned March 2021 Washington Post article explains that parents are becoming more and more interested in giving toys to their kids that don't enforce these harmful gender stereotypes. And gender-neutral toys are a great way to avoid the perpetuation of these stereotypes onto children. Plus, they provide a plethora of developmental benefits. Children practice being creative when they engage in activities such as manipulating Play-Doh, building structures out of wooden blocks, or using Lincoln Logs. And these are activities that children of any gender can enjoy. Furthermore, many companies have started to produce science kits that aren't targeted at a specific gender. This allows children to practice their critical thinking and engage in a productive way with the world around them, without being subject to these gender stereotypes. In addition to taking a proactive approach with the children in your life, you may consider only buying toys from companies like Hasbro that have made conscious efforts to reduce bias in their products. Also, you may consider lobbying your local toy store for a gender-neutral section. Let's be honest, more comprehensive legislation like that passed in California would be a great solution everywhere. In the meantime, gender-neutral toys are a great way of avoiding the perpetuation of these damaging stereotypes onto our children. It's safe to say that everyone wants the best for children. However, we can't achieve the best for them until we stop enforcing harmful gender stereotypes on our children through gender-specific toys. Today, we considered how gender-specific toys became so popular in America, before then looking at what this means for both children and adults, before finally considering better play alternatives that support the safe and healthy development of our kids. Gender-neutral toys are a great way to protect our children from the harmful gender stereotypes that can be perpetuated onto them by modern societal stereotypes. The immediate solution to the issue of gender bias in toys is really just as simple as child's play.